Hi, I'm Danny,
Hi, I'm Mel.
and we're the Sheehan sisters. If you haven't seen our faces before, we like to do commentary and podcast style videos on an array of topics we like to talk about.
So, as always, grab your coffee, tea, water, your beverage of choice, grab some snacks, get cozy because we have a lot to talk about.
I have to say, my coffee is on point right now.
I love that. I'm on my third cup of coffee.
Love that for you. I believe I believe in one of our previous episodes we mentioned we have reduced our coffee intake.
No, I definitely have, and I've also reduced like my caffeine intake overall too, because I used to also drink a lot of soda. So today is like the most coffee I've had in a while.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I have been trying to cut out ginger ale from my diet, and I think it's going well.
Ginger ale doesn't have any caffeine though.
I think it does.
Yeah, it says it says caffeine free on it.
You might be right. Well, it's not about the caffeine, it's more so because soda's bad for you.
It's more so the sugar for sure. But yeah, like there are a lot of sodas out there like Sprite, Fanta, like they don't all have caffeine. But I used to drink Pepsi, which has a lot of caffeine. So I'd be drinking, and still when I'm at work, I try to still drink. I need caffeine to like get through my shift sometimes.
I get it.
And a lot of people will drink Red Bull. Like that's like the main thing that line cooks will drink. But I can't drink energy drinks. I can't do that.
Ugh, people love energy drinks. I do want to point out this is changing the direction of the conversation, but it is March 17th. It's St. Patrick's Day, so I had to wear my green.
Yes, we are filming on St. Patrick's Day, but you guys will see this another day. In March though, it's still March.
Hopefully.
What did you guys do for St. Patrick's Day? Let us know. And if you didn't know, we're Irish. If you couldn't tell by our last name. Some people know it's an Irish last name, but not everybody.
We don't technically say it the correct way.
Right.
But there's a story behind that. You know what? I do go back. I don't know if you do the same, but I switch back and forth of how I pronounce my last name, our last name.
No, but some people will because some people will call me by my last name or call me Miss Sheehan, and they'll say Sheehan instead of Sheehan, and I won't correct them. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. So it is, the correct way to say it is Sheehan, but our father, when he was alive, changed it to Sheehan because he said he liked how it sounded with his first name. So
I don't know why I'm laughing at when he was alive. Like, I don't know why I thought that was so funny.
he is deceased.
We are allowed to laugh at that. Yeah.
His name was Dan. So he liked that it was Dan Sheehan, which I agree. Listen, he was his own publicist. Okay, he was like, I am changing the way the last name is sound so that I can get the gigs.
So that's why we are the Sheehan sisters. But if you call us the Sheehan sisters, we won't be upset about that.
We won't. I do have, okay, a little festive moment here.
Cute. I have no green on, and I have nothing festive to add to this.
And I know y'all are gonna come from us. Y'all are gonna come for us. We are Irish American. We're descendants. So
We know our ancestry though, okay? third generation Americans. Our great grandparents came here. So it's good to know your history. Did not. Are you taking it off?
I'm having some trouble.
You're stuck.
Oh, Lord.
Also, are you ready? No.
I am ready. Drop a 4-leaf clover in the comments.
And are you someone who listens to videos mostly, or are you watching? Because that sounds like a weird question. But again, because we do it podcast style, we realize some people might just listen while they're cleaning or doing something else, because I do that a lot. But obviously there are videos that require you to watch. You know?
Right. We do have episodes where we react to other videos, so I'm sure if you're doing the dishes and you're like, and then we're like, hey, let's watch this video together, you're like, oh, shoots, let me pay attention now. I don't know what I'm saying.
No, I get it. And I'm also someone who, like, even though I will listen to things every now and then, like a certain subject will come up, or like I want to see their face expression. I don't know, like I'm very much a visual person, so then there are times where I'm like, wait, I want to see what their face looked like when they, anyway, I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Well, it's funny because when I'm editing our videos, sometimes we'll have a pause and I'm like, should we keep the pause in or should we cut that pause? I mean, certain pauses we keep in, but I feel like that's also a little signal to the audience where they're like, wait, did something just happen to my phone or my video that I'm watching, that there's silence right now?
But I think there are pauses in normal conversations. It's like someone's gonna respond. I think if it's a too long of a pause, I'd be like, oh shit, something happened. But I think if it's like a 5-10 second pause, I wouldn't freak out. I'd be like, okay, that person's thinking of, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like I've watched podcasts or interviews where there's slight pauses because that's kind of normal to happen in conversation.
You ever talk to someone who doesn't pause?
100%. I talk to people who don't like silence, and you know me. You know I can stay silent for long periods of time. I can go a whole day without talking. I can go a whole week. And unfortunately, people take that the wrong way. They think you're mad. They think you're upset. They're like, what's wrong? I just enjoy silence sometimes. It's really nice. How about you? How do you feel about that?
So, I believe I've mentioned this previously, but as I've gotten older, I've become more introverted, and sometimes I feel like something's wrong with me when I don't have the desire to interact. And then I also feel left out. I can still get that feeling of like, oh, I feel left out of the group or left out of the conversation. But then I have this internal battle where I'm like, but if I felt compelled to talk to this person, wouldn't I have, you know?
Right, if you wanted to, you would, kind of thing.
Right, but then is it just me being shy and anxious? I think I've been struggling a little bit because I'm trying to figure out if my intuition is keeping me from socializing with certain people, and in a way of, oh, don't fuck with these people, like, or, you know, these are not your people. How should I explain this? Like, is my intuition telling me these are not people you want to be friends with? Or am I just socially anxious and overthinking? Do you ever experience that?
Yeah, and I think I read somewhere that, like, I'm trying to remember the quote exactly, where it was like intuition is in your gut and then anxiety is in your chest or your stomach or something like that. So, this is what I was gonna say. Sorry. I think they said if it comes in the form of a question, it's your anxiety. But if it's a statement, it's your intuition.
Okay. I feel like I'm navigating my personality differently because when I was younger, I was a lot more extroverted, as you know. So now I'm not as extroverted, and I'll be around extroverted people and that can pull out my extrovertedness. Or for example, like the job I work at right now, because we have different, my company will pick up different projects, so we'll be at different venues. And the one I'm at currently, I just work by myself, right? Like nobody else from my company works there. So it'll just be me surrounded by people who have their coworkers. So then you feel a little isolated. And I feel like some people can just, when you are extroverted, you can talk to anybody at any point. But I feel like lately I've been like, I don't know, like in my shell, where I'll just like go to the area, like our little designated area that like my company, whoever's working there, we stay. Like we have a little storage area, and like I'll just like, sometimes I'll say hi or sometimes I won't. I'll just go straight to the storage area and just stay there. And then the other people in the venue are all like outside the door, like socializing, and then I'll feel like, am I the one not putting myself out there to like make those connections? Probably. Or do I just don't feel that connection? Sometimes I'm like, oh, if it's like, if I have that like energetic pull towards somebody, then that usually happens.
I get what you're saying. Because, like, again, I think also, like, yeah, like if other people are introverted, they might not come to start the conversation.
Right. I feel like I'm being very vague about my job, but that's only because I don't know. I don't want to reveal too much of my personal information on the internet, especially because it affects my company and then the place I work. So
Right. And you're also not trying to like dox yourself. So.
yeah, exactly. So a lot of the people I work with, they aren't native New Yorkers, right? So, and I've met a lot of my jobs, it'll be like people who've lived here for 10 plus years, but they're not native New Yorkers. And then I feel like that's where my New Yorker comes out, where we don't, I used to be more, like I said, extrovert. I'd be like, hey, how's it going? And then like most New Yorkers are gonna give you like a blank stare and you're gonna be like, okay, you're a fucking asshole, and then you're gonna move on. But now I feel like I'm the asshole, where I'm just like, I don't fuck with you.
I relate to that 100%. I definitely feel like an asshole a lot, but then I also sometimes I do miss New York and being around New Yorkers, because we all just get each other. A lot of things that have been normalized in New York, a lot of other people in states look at as rude, where you're like, no, like this is just us. And like the tone of voice, and like that's something I get a lot, where people think I'm arguing with them, and I'm like, this is just how I talk. Like I've started to tell people, I'm like, this is just the inflection of my voice. I don't know what to tell you. And then like cursing too, like in New York, cursing, so just like, it's just part of our language. And I've had jobs where like your bosses would be cursing. And again, people, if you go outside in New York, people take it as, whoa, you're being aggressive, you're being angry. And you're like, what the fuck? No, like this, I don't know if you feel that way when you're talking to non-native New Yorkers, but that's how I've been feeling being outside of New York.
Well, like I said, a lot of the non-natives have lived here long enough where they've picked up on the New York City etiquette. so it won't be as jarring. But I was going to mention, because Mel and I recently rewatched some of our old YouTube videos, and I'm sure you realize this as well. We kind of lost our Queen's accent.
Yeah, and people tell me all the time, "Oh, you're from New York. Where's your accent?" And then once in a while, I'll say certain things, and they're like, "Oh, your accent's coming out," and it's like, and I think that maybe this is true for you too. Where like, we don't. There are some New Yorkers who will they're not getting rid of their New York accent for anyone. They're not switching to speak professionally. They're like, "This is how I talk. This is how I talk."
I do feel like people immediately associate a certain accent to New York, which is like the Bronx accent.
I was gonna say the Brooklyn accent, but yeah, something along those lines.
The reason I say the Bronx, because I feel like Brooklyn has become so gentrified that I don't even know if there is the Brooklyn accent anymore.
It's very scarce now, yeah, now that it's been gentrified. And I feel like people also, it's also like an Italian, it's like Italian, because this is a funny thing too, where people will ask if I have any Italian or Puerto Rican in me, because I think those are the two main like accents of New York City, is the Puerto Ricans and the Italians.
In Queens, I think I've brought this up in many episodes as well. Queens is the most diverse borough in New York City. So there is no really like identifiable accent unless you're in like certain areas of Queens. Like if you go out to Long Island, there's a big Long Island accent.
Yeah.
But then, so Queens is part of Long Island.
It's so funny because I also think about that too when I'm like, people are like, where are you from? I'm like, I'm from New York City, Queens. Like, no one cares outside of New York that I'm from Queens or knows that. And I think about like other places, like living out here in Seattle, if they were like, I'm from this. And I'm like, no one, if you went to another state or met someone from another state, they just go, oh, I'm from Ohio. Oh, I'm from New Hampshire. They're never like, and I've met people out here who are from New York, and they'll say their entire like block they grew up on, they're like 135th. You know what I'm saying? Like New Yorkers will take it that deep, where they're like, I grew up here, like, and they'll tell me the address, and I'm just like, we really are different.
I don't know how we got into this conversation.
No, but none of this has anything to do with what we're gonna talk about today. As native New Yorkers, we're always going to talk about New York.
There's just something about being born and raised in the city. Why people have the desire to move here in 2026, I can't fathom. I would suggest not to, because I'm trying to get out.
Right, I think it's so crazy when I would meet people who were like, I've waited my whole life to move here. And I'm like, what? And then even now that I moved out, people are like, why did you move? Why would you move? I want to go there. I'm like, I was there for too long. Like, I love it. It is honestly one of the greatest cities for a reason. And there are a lot of things I miss about it. But I'm also glad I left.
I love the food here, but I don't love being on the train and there's a psycho who decides to stand in front of me and touch himself.
Unfortunately, the psychos are everywhere.
They always will be.
Creeps are everywhere, sadly enough. Yeah, but I also did move to another major city, so maybe we need to go out to like the mountains.
That could be true also. But then when I watch true crime and it'll be like this middle of nowhere town where a lot of these crimes are happening, and I'm like, oh, okay. So there's the serial killers.
Yes, they're still out there.
I believe that Earth is an asylum. I really do. I think this like Earth is like a little experiment that like, I don't know, maybe like a bunch of higher beings created, and they're just watching us like, oh my God, look at them killing each other.
I believe this is hell.
Has to be some form of it, right?
Yeah. And we haven't talked about politics in a little while. I don't know if we're going to today, but I've been having a lot of moral dilemmas lately about life because it's like caught between, okay, I gotta just live my life, but also it's like, how can I live my life when all the horrors are persisting? And like, why are we as a collective not doing more?
See, that's the thing. Everybody's saying, like, we're not doing more, we're not doing more. I think that it's always going to be in little steps, right? Little changes you make in your everyday life, I think we're going to see that development years from now, right? Like, hopefully we're as boycotting certain corporations, we'll start to see those dying out, and like I'd love to start seeing fast food die out, and our health and our culture start shifting. Unfortunately, like, the robots are going to be running the restaurants, so I'm scared what that world will look like.
What?
The robots are going to be running the restaurants and running the businesses.
First of all, nobody wants a robot cooking their food. I think the robots will take over. But I'm talking about, like, why are we not, like, all... I can't use certain words because then this video is not going to get onto the algorithm, but we need to all go outside with our pitchforks and torches, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, small change, of course, but then you see what our dictators doing, but then that pisses me off too, where I'm like, all the people in the government are being just as complicit as we are. Where are the leaders that are really rising up to like start the movement? There are good representatives out there, but they're also going about it in like, oh well, small steps and we'll get there. We're past that, I feel like. We've been trying baby steps for the past 200 years. Like, it's not...
It's difficult because there's so much corruption intertwined in not only our administration, but in our everyday lives. So we have to be mindful about our choices, which hopefully we still live in a democratic state where we're going to have our midterm elections, and then we can put people in positions that are speaking for the people and are refusing money, right? And making more morally conscious decisions.
Right, that's what we are all hoping for. But I don't know if you saw this. I know we didn't plan on speaking about this today, but I saw a video in Texas that there was voter suppression happening, where usually when you go to vote, if you're on the line before 7 p.m., they're going to take everyone till the end of the line. If you got on the line before 7, you can still vote. And they were cutting people off. They're like, oh, it's now closed. And people are like, no, I got online at 5:30 or I got online at 6, so you're still supposed to take my vote. So that's like a scary thing too. And then there are the people who are commenting, they're like, okay, if voting doesn't matter, why would they do this? Or if the voting is rigged, why would they care about this? And that's what I want to remind people of too. I think it's like this false myth that gets pushed of like voting isn't important. But it's like, no, it does matter. Like, as much as we want to think, like, yeah, there is a lot of corruption happening, like you said, but they are still following certain, like, the systems are still in place and they're still being followed to a degree. Again, like, our current leader is not following anything, and just nothing's happening to him, which is very aggravating.
Right. And Kansas is also, they just recently passed a bill for trans people to have to
change their licensing back to their gender at birth.
Right, which is also another form of voter suppression, because some of these people don't feel comfortable going out and showing that ID if it has their birth information on it, and then they may not be able to afford paying for a new ID, and then having to go to the DMV is a hassle in and of itself.
Right, and it's just reversing all the work that they've done to get where they are, and all the progressive movements that have been made. And it's like they're slowly stripping rights away, and like no one is doing it. That's what I'm saying. No one's really doing much. And I know like we're doing as much as we possibly think we can, but again, like everyone's not like, all right, let's all not go to work tomorrow.
So this is the thing, right? Everyone keeps saying, okay, we need a mass strike, right?
Which we've done a few here and there.
We have, but it's like that, what was that ideology you mentioned when you were saying that there was an emergency and then like the neighbors just assumed that the other neighbor was going to call?
The bystander effect.
The bystander effect, right? So I feel like when it comes to like a mass strike, everyone still has that fear of like, okay, well, all right, I'm gonna go through with it. But then if my neighbor doesn't go through with it, then am I striking by myself? And then are we all participating? Because then I could possibly lose my job and lose my house or lose my apartment because I'm going on the strike, but nobody else is going on the strike. So then I feel like we all have that psychological worry of like, okay, I'm ready to do it. Are you ready to do it? Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so then let's do it. Then it's just this I don't know, back and forth of us staying stuck in our fears.
Right, but that's the thing too, where we're all so attached to our things. I don't know if you've seen posted about this also, where it's like, well, but I need my things. Like, I can't let anyone take my things away. So again, that's what we're scared of. We're like, well, then I'm gonna be homeless, and then I'm gonna be out on the street, and then what's gonna happen? But again, that's where community needs to come into play, where we're all kind of helping one another. And I think we've talked about this before too, is like going back to like trade and bartering, because again, everyone's so stuck in like, I need to make money, and I'm gonna make something, and I'm gonna sell it for a lot because it's worth it, because I put my name on it and I put hard work into it. Where it was like, well, we could also trade with each other, where it's like, I'll make you food and you make me a blanket. Like things like that, or like I'll let you stay in my place for a little bit, or like getting like you know, like coming together again as a community, and like how things were centuries ago of like villages, and like, okay, this person's gonna build the houses, and this person's gonna, which they don't want that. They don't want us coming together. That's why we can't even have an apple tree outside, because they want us to pay for everything, where like consumerism comes into play. But like, what could they really do if we all did start to like trade here and there with each other? And then it wouldn't be as scary to be like, oh, I might lose my job.
Unfortunately, I think we are losing humanity and trust for one another. So that's another reason why we're not taking care of one another. There's very few people who are like, yeah, I'll let a stranger stay in my house.
But that's where it's like, okay, that's where I'm like, the community building comes into play, where it's not a stranger, and we've built the community, and it's like, oh, there's Danny, oh, there's Mel.
Right, but then it goes back to what I just mentioned in the start of this video, where I was like, oh, I have social anxiety, and I'm not putting myself out there to like get to know these people that I see when I'm at work.
No, same. I'm very introverted. Like I understand that completely. Where like I don't really talk to a lot of people, but I'm just like, I'm just kind of thinking out loud and questioning out loud, like, how would we get there?
And we're also overpopulated. There's so many of us. So then it would end up coming down to like sectors of villages.
Right. And of course, there's still like crazy and creepy people, as we just mentioned. So it's also about our safety. I don't know. It's just disheartening that like there isn't a way they've made it almost impossible. I still think it is possible, but they've made it almost impossible for us to all come together and trust each other and help one another.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
But this is where I go back to like taking small steps, right? Like you and I, we're not going to change the world tomorrow with one of our YouTube videos, but can we start to build our small little community with our book club? We're getting to know other people who want to educate themselves and want to read and share stories along with us and share ideas and share opinions. That's the start, right? It's like a little, like you're forming the snowball into the snowman.
No, of course, and there are plenty of activists and organizations that have been, trying to do the same. I'm just, again, just speaking out loud of like ideas.
I don't know why you snowball into the snowman, but sure, we'll go with
that makes sense. Speaking of our book club, though, segue, this month of March, guys, we are reading The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. So get your copy if you haven't already.
I feel like you and I have both agreed that this book, for some reason, has been more difficult to commit to.
I think because I've read it already, I'm procrastinating more than I usually would because I'm like, oh, well, I already read it.
I'm not pulled into the story just yet. I'm reading slow, so I'm no shade to Margaret Atwood at all. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing book.
I get what you're saying because I did want to commentate on that. I didn't know if I should wait until our review, but I wanted to talk about that because I think this is a critique I had the last time I read this as I'm rereading it. And I don't know how I feel about when authors do this, but she describes everything. And I'm like, great, you're painting the picture wonderfully, but then I'm also, I don't know, because I'm conflicted about how I feel about that type of writing, where she is describing the entire room to you.
I can see how someone reading it feels like they're not getting to the point. But I also think that our attention span comes into play because we want to know, like, what's the point of this immediately.
Yes, and I feel like that's the thing too, where parts of it, I'm like, oh, I love the way she described that. That's great. But then again, you're like, okay, get to the story, because that's why I'm reading this, because I want to read the story. And you're like, is there a significance behind? And of course there is. Like, she's setting the tone.
It makes sense to describe what the character is seeing and walking through, right? Because then we would have no idea what that house looks like, right? Like, we would have no idea about the room they're staying in, and we would just have to create our own. We would have to draw our own conclusion. So there is an importance to being overly descriptive because you want to create the world for that reader.
Right. And I think it also depends on the kind of book you are reading, because I'm thinking of the last two books we read where they kind of just like, and here's the characters and here's the story, and not much of the environment was as detailed. And you get what I'm saying? Like, there wasn't as many details given into the entire environment, only like certain things that were important to the story. Like in Fahrenheit 451, they're like, this is what the firehouse looks like. But you didn't have a grand idea of what the whole neighborhood looked like. You're kind of just picturing a neighborhood in your head.
That's true.
So again, I do appreciate like some of it where you're like, yeah, now I can really feel the room I'm in because she explained it. But then again, you're like, okay, but the story. Grab your copy, guys. We're going to talk about it by the end of the month, beginning of next month.
Yes, we decided that some of our reviews are going to be at the beginning of the following month so we can give ourselves the full month to finish the book and give you all time as well.
Yes.
But moving on, what are we talking about today?
Moving on to our main topic. As always, we're a little late to things, but not late in our eyes because things just move too quickly and it's like, okay, let's slow down a bit. We're going to be talking about the America's Next Top Model Netflix documentary. I believe it came out only like a few weeks ago, I want to say, like 3 weeks ago, maybe a month.
I was going to say, I feel like it's been months at this point, but I know it hasn't.
No, I think it came out in February.
Okay, we're in mid-March. That's a long time ago.
But it's not, and I'm really getting tired of that. Like, do you remember when things would go viral and it would be the whole year? And now it's like 2 weeks later, people are like, that's old. No, stop doing that.
There's just too much. There's just too much on the internet. That's why.
It was released February 16th, a month ago. It was released a month ago. Everyone in the world has seen it already. It's impossible. If you're like us and you haven't watched the documentary, yeah, we watched it, but you didn't watch it right away. You were with us, you know, like you're here. You're like, yeah, someone else just. Because I feel like these days it's like the documentary came out and the next day or like that following week, people are expecting YouTubers to have a video up on it within that same week.
Right.
It's like, you don't have a life? No, that's mean to say. Not in a mean way, you don't have a life. Like, if that's your career and you're already making money, then you might have a little more time on your hands. But we have a job.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, if this is their job, then they're like, okay, I need to film the video tomorrow, have it up by the end of the week.
Right. We did watch it in February, but then we still had to do our book review. So it did get pushed back. We filmed 2 other videos that are already up on our channel, and we mentioned the documentary in both of them, but we just haven't had time to fully talk about it in a video.
So we're going to talk about it today. What did you think about the documentary, Mel?
I thought it was a good documentary.
You did?
We let me talk, please. We grew up, we mentioned this, we grew up watching America's Next Top Model. And growing up, we did enjoy watching it. And it's crazy to see now, see it through a different lens being older, but also seeing more of the behind the scenes and understanding how shows work. Because watching it as a kid, you're kind of taking everything at face value and you're like, well, these people signed up to do this. Like, these women chose to do this. And when you're like 10, 11, you're looking at them as grown women. And then now you're watching this back. I'm in my 30s watching it and like, these are just teenage girls. Like, they're just so young and they just want guidance and help. And just seeing it through a new lens is why I think it was a good documentary. And I think that some of the women were able to tell their stories. I know a lot of models didn't want to be included in the documentary, but the ones that were, I feel like got their story out there.
I agree with that. I do feel like the producers didn't push Tyra enough. Like, they would ask her a question and she'll be like, no, I'm not going to answer that. In regards to, well, what did they ask her about Jay Manuel?
Right, they asked her if she has spoken to him.
They were asking about the fallout and she was like, no, I'm not going to comment on that. And then they just moved on from it.
Well, she's at the point in her career where she's able to have that kind of control over things, where she's like, I'm not going to talk about this. I don't agree with that, but no one can really push her because she's like, no, if I'm going to do this documentary, I'm going to say only what I want to say.
Right.
And it's funny, I saw someone point out that there were like, I think Tyra thought she was in a different type of documentary. And I don't think she realized she was in more of an expose. What do you think?
I feel like if they were going to... Do I feel like it was an expose? Not fully. They kind of glazed... Not glazed. Is glazed the word I'm looking for? Glossed. Yes. They kind of glossed over some of these issues. Like, it would be mentioned, and then they're like, okay, here's a story, here's a model story that fits this issue, and then they moved on. And Tyra was just like, yeah, I remember that. Oh, that was just the times. But look how amazing we got this #1 show, and it was so successful, and you all asked for this.
Right, and that's why I think she didn't realize what they were going for, where she's like keeping it all like we were doing something for the first time, where she just thought they were talking about the show itself, and maybe thought they were bringing up these things as like to try to get her to react, and she's like, I'm just not gonna react. And I don't know, maybe no one on her team realized, and she didn't realize that the people that they were asking her about were also being interviewed. So that was weird to me, because I'm like, girl, they're asking you, to get into some of the stories. It's like they're asking you about Shandy. Wouldn't you realize, oh, they are going to be interviewing Shandy as well?
Well, she did have some of these contestants on her show, right? The Tyra Banks show. So maybe she's just thinking, okay, it'll be similar to when these models were on my show.
Right. But I think a lot of the models, and I know a lot of them didn't agree to be on the documentary, I think a lot of them, not scared of Tyra, but like don't feel comfortable. Like if it were them in a room with Tyra, I feel like maybe the interviews would have gone a little differently.
If they were in the room with Tyra?
Yeah.
Interesting. I mentioned this in our, because we kind of gave a spoiler towards the end of our last episode, and I just want to reiterate, I do feel like people aren't coming after Ken Mock as much as they are towards Tyra Banks, because that man also is so nonchalant. He's just like, oh, Janice Dickinson is just fantastic. Like they both are just so embedded in the industry that they're more excited about the ratings.
Yeah, we definitely are not holding the man as accountable as we are. But again, Tyra's the face of it, so that's why she's getting more backlash. Where I didn't even really know who Ken Mock was. He's not seen on the show, so it's so much easier to go after J. Manuel and Mrs. J and Tyra, because of like they're the ones that you're seeing when there's a whole production company behind it. And then Tyra was also going back and forth, and so was Ken Mock, about how much they had, like how hands-on they were in a lot of it. They were kind of contradicting themselves there.
When Tyra or Ken were asked about, like, when they were pressed about certain controversies, they would deflect and respond in a way that doesn't hold them accountable, because I don't think they view their impact on all the women and all the models in a negative way. I think they see themselves in a high regard because they think they made such a revolutionary show And there are examples of models who have become successful from the show.
Right. And going off of what you were saying earlier, of like they're so deep in the industry and they're kind of like, well, this is how it is. And that's kind of their response to a lot of things too, where like that was the time, or like that's how it goes, and that's what happened to me. And I have an issue with that because this can go for other industries and just like for life in general, for different generations, where older generations are like, well, I had it tough, so oh well. You know what I'm saying? Where now we're trying to be more vocal and speak up and say, no, this is not okay. And that's something Tyra mentioned too. She's like, oh, everyone was rewatching it. And it was a lot of like Gen Z who had never seen the show watching it and being like, this is crazy, they aired this. Where us as millennials grew up on a lot of that kind of content and didn't realize there was an issue until we got older. And some of that is because we were kids and we weren't viewing it in the right lens. But then also another thing is it was so normalized for it to be that way. But again, it's like, why are we continuing to perpetuate the cycles of abuse instead of being like, okay, yeah, like let's switch it up. Let's make life better and easier for the younger generations instead of being like, well, tough luck.
Right. I had written down about Ken Mock saying it was a Cinderella story. And that's why I truly believe they didn't see like they didn't feel like they were doing anything wrong because they thought they were transforming these women's lives when they were actually humiliating and exploiting them.
Yeah. One thing that really upset me, besides the Shandy thing, because obviously that's extremely upsetting, and we can circle back to that, but when they made the girl take the gap out of her tooth,
Danny.
cycles later, we're praising someone for having the gap in their tooth. Like, you made someone alter their, I mean, all the makeovers were altering their body, but that was a permanent surgery. So that's so fucked up.
Right.
How did you feel about that?
That particular story.
Yeah.
I watch a YouTuber named Jessica Kobesi, and she does commentary on old America's Next Top Model episodes. So I've over the last few years I have rewatched along with her some of these obscene makeovers. So I was aware of that cycle where they wanted Danny to close her gap, and then I remember a couple cycles later they embraced one of the other models who had a gap and like even wanted her to like expand the gap. So I don't know if in like, let's say for example, I don't know if Tyra even remembers the cycle where she wanted Danny to close her gap, or they really are that sinister and intentionally creating a new narrative that they know will be controversial, where they know the audience will be like, wait, didn't you say that the industry is against tooth gaps years ago?
Right. No, I get what you're saying, because I was thinking that too. I was like, well, did she get backlash from it, and then they decided in that one to not do it? Or like you said, does she just not remember? Which I can see that happening too, where like everyone's so disposable to them that they don't even fully remember everything that happened.
Right.
But I still think it's messed up that they were trying to get her to, because she kept saying, oh, I want to push the industry's standard, and she kept saying that, but then kept doubling down against that, where she was like, I want there to be plus size models and shorter models and this type of model, and then at the same time forcefully changing all of them.
Right. I think I think when they started seeing how some of the girls reacted to their makeovers, each cycle they wanted to amplify that emotional reaction.
Of course, that was one of the reasons people watch the show is for the makeover portion. They were like, let's see what's gonna happen.
Because you know damn well some of these makeovers were not good. There's no way that, and many of the models have said like they couldn't book jobs because of the makeover they were given. They had to wait till their hair grew back out, or they had to wait till they changed their hair color.
Right, because they're doing it for shock value. So they're like, we're gonna just shave your head because you have super long hair. Like just going the opposite of who they are instead of embracing who they are.
Of course. And I think the more that the girls rebelled in certain cycles, or the more they gave them an emotional reaction, that kind of like, I don't know, made them giddy and was like, oh my God, we have to make these more extreme so that we can evoke this psychological trauma within this girl as we're cutting her hair off. And most women feel this way if they get a bad haircut, and men too. Some of us are so attached to our hair, not just physically. We're so emotionally attached to our hair, right? Some of it becomes part of our identity or our comfort.
But hair also holds it, it's been said that hair like holds memories, and like it does have a greater effect on who you are.
Exactly. In some cultures, your hair is part of that culture and that spirituality and that connection to whatever your beliefs are. So
Right, and that's another thing they completely dismissed. They were just so dismissive of emotions, culture, all of it. They were just like, everything's out the window. It's all about the views.
the race swapping.
I don't think I ever watched that. I was watching some of the things they were talking about in later seasons, and I think you and I gave up on. I know you went and rewatched the show, but I know when we were actively watching it on TV, I think there was a certain point we stopped watching it. We were tired of the show, I think, at a certain point. And I don't think I watched it live when they did that. I don't remember watching that season. Do you? Again, I know you rewatched seasons.
Yeah, exactly. I don't remember. I wouldn't be able to say like how I reacted if I did watch it live. I just know rewatching it, you're like, this is obviously obscene and morally wrong.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what point in time, because she's trying to be like, it's a different time. Like, girl, that was like 2008, 2009. I don't think even then it was acceptable. Like, how did that get through so many people?
It never was. It's never been acceptable. And not only did they do it for one cycle, they did it for 2 cycles. They're like, we're going to do this again. But I've
seen this too, where people were also bringing up the Tyra Banks show and like the things she did on that show. Like, she was a homeless person one day, she had a fat suit on in another one. So she still continued these antics on her talk show as well.
She's wild. She's wild.
Your Sagittarius sister over there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it got to a point where it wasn't really even about the modeling or the models anymore.
It wasn't. And they would clearly take some traumatic event that a model went through and then use that for a photo shoot the next week.
Yeah. Like, all of a sudden they're on Fear Factor.
Right. I'm sure, I think this is known already, that they have to fill out all these questions and give all this information. And I believe they talked to a psychologist.
I think a lot of shows do require there to be a psychologist on set. I don't know about then, but I think in general, like now, it's for sure, like they want to have someone on set in case something happens. But also, I lost it.
Okay, so I wanted to bring up Mr. J revealing that they didn't always pick the model's best photo.
That really pissed me off also because, again, we know a lot of shows are overproduced and maybe they have a winner picked out ahead of time. I think we've talked about this with other shows before too. And it's like, that's so messed up. Like, what? I don't know. I'm just like, okay, now again, the plot has been completely lost.
It was becoming obvious when you would see, when it would come time to judging, it would start to become obvious. And they even had models call them out at judging where they'll be like, that wasn't my best photo.
Right, and then they would gaslight them and be like, we couldn't find. This is the best one we can find. Like, all the photos were just so unusable.
Right.
Gaslighting them all the time. And another thing, sorry, look, I'm gonna let you finish.
I didn't feel like it was a surprise when Mr. J was like, oh yeah, they had storylines that they needed to complete. So they were telling me to like pick out certain photos so that they could, ultimately eliminate certain people so that they can continue a storyline with other contestants. I think that started to become more and more obvious as the cycles went on. You're like, okay, so they're pitting these two contestants against each other, or they want this storyline, or they want this edit for this model, so they're going to tailor the episode in a certain way.
Right. And there was the model who mentioned, I'm so bad with names. I'm so sorry. I should have written them down. There was the model who mentioned they edited her eating the bagel and it was only one bagel and they were making it seem like she was eating multiple bagels.
Yes.
I'm just like, that's so fucked up. Like, first of all, it doesn't even matter. Eat how many bagels you want. But like, again, just like the manipulation that went behind it. And of course, again, like now we know a lot of reality shows are heavily produced, but the extent they go to is a little crazy. Where they're piecing things together of like, well, this person said that, and then putting another conversation in.
Of course. And you see that with most reality shows where you'll have a person in a confessional and they could be commenting on something completely different, but then production takes that comment and they splice it or edit it so that you think they're reacting to a certain scene that we just saw, but they were really answering a different question.
Right.
I did want to comment on the eating disorders.
Me too, because I also wanted to comment on the plus size models.
Girl, when I'm like, wait a minute, that was considered plus size?
I'm looking at the models now, and I remember, again, we watched this when we were younger, and I have a lot I want to say on this topic. We're watching this as we're younger, and we're being told this is plus size as little girls. So we're like, oh my, and then looking back at it now, I'm like, she looks like a normal woman. Like, this is not, like the standards that were put forward, and we've talked about this in so many videos, and we're going to continue to talk about it, but that standard of skinny that was pushed onto us and is now resurfacing is scary.
I'm glad you brought this up because I was reading a Reddit thread and I saved this comment that I wanted to read. Okay. This person said, it's interesting how they commented on how it's so different nowadays in terms of discourse around weight, etc. But it seems like we've come full circle and quote unquote heroin chic is actually back in fashion. When I see certain celebrities who are small, I start to question like what their diet is, right? So in my head, I'm like, okay, wait, so what is their diet like for them to stay that skinny? Like, what would I have to do in order to achieve that? And then when you really think about it, chances are they're actually starving themselves.
Right. And that's why I did want to speak on this, because I know people keep saying, oh, we shouldn't commentate on women's bodies, and absolutely, and like commentate on anyone's bodies. But it gets to a point where it's like, how do you let someone know that you're worried for them? And as someone who struggled with being anorexic, and I look back at pictures and I'm like, no one said anything. No one expressed any type of concern to me, you know, right? Because again, people don't know if they should comment on people's bodies or not. And then again, it's being so normalized that this is skinny that they're just like, well, you're just a skinny person.
Right. They're probably like, you look great, girl.
The amount of women that would come up to me and be like, oh my God, you're so skinny, I love it. Like, it was like, that's what I would get most of the time. And looking back, I look back at pictures and I'm like horrified, because I'm like, this doesn't look good. Like, I don't understand why some of us look at that. I'm glad that I'm out of that. It took a lot to get out of that, but like, and even now it's something I still do struggle with, because here's the thing, right? I was unhealthy then. And now that I'm putting on weight and gaining weight, I now still have that body dysmorphia where I'm feeling bigger than I am, and that I'm also still comparing myself to my unhealthy version, thinking that was skinny, because that's what is being pushed again too, where they're like, this is skinny and anything else is fat, when in reality that was unhealthy. And now I'm probably at just like a normal, normal, again, people, that's a strange word to use too, but I'm probably now at a healthy body weight, but I'm comparing myself to when I was unhealthy, thinking like, oh, I miss being skinny. Are you following this? Is this like...
I'm following along. I understand.
I literally used to starve myself and work out on top of that. And it's like, I'm burning calories I haven't even consumed. And I'm pretty sure that that's probably a similar routine as to what's happening now. But also now there's all these pills and shots that people are taking on top of that. And I think if I was still in that mindset, I probably would go out and try to obtain Ozempic or what do they call, like GLP-1s and things like that. I'd probably, if I was still, you know, struggling with that, I would probably have gone out and done that to myself.
No, I literally told Theo, I'm like, should I try to get a GLP-1? But I don't want to. I don't think there's anything wrong with using GLP-1s.
Right, and I think that there are people out there that it does help, and it is made for, especially if you are at a weight that is unhealthy and is
killing you, essentially.
Right, if it's affecting your health and your life and you have to lose weight, then absolutely. But I think there are people out there using these who don't need it. Like, I think I saw an ad and it was like Serena Williams promoting a GLP-1, and I'm like, she's an athlete. Like, why? Again, like, people are, I think, using it for more vanity reasons. Mm-hmm. And I could definitely see more athletes starting to use it because they feel like they need to keep up with a certain body type. But it's just scary to me that there are people who are already healthy and they're feeling like, oh, I need to lose more weight, or I need to again, just like focusing too much on their body, when this should be used more as a tool to help people.
Right, and I do think the psychology behind it, and I've mentioned this before, it's everybody wants to attain their level of perfection. So like, even if in my eyes this person has like a great physique and their body seems in shape and they seem healthy, but they're looking at themselves in the mirror, like pointing out different parts of themselves that they're like, well, I could probably like become a little bit more slim here, or like shave down this part of me. And like, everybody's still nitpicking parts of themselves that they feel like could look even better, right? So it's like we just have this aspect of the human mind that wants to attain our level of perfection and beauty. Even if other people think you've met that standard, you're looking at yourself in the mirror like, nope, this is not good enough yet. Need to do this. Got to fix that. This can be a lot better. This can be a lot more beautiful.
And ultimately, we need to just stop caring about our looks and the superficiality of it all. Like, again, going back to what we talked about in the beginning of this video of like focusing on issues that actually matter and trying to become better as a society and humanity. But again, we're so wrapped up in ourselves and in our looks and what, and like that doesn't, like, we should be focusing on being kinder to one another and maybe curing cancer instead of like, well, here's a way to lose weight. I know I'm being very, I'm being Jaden Smith right now, where I'm like, we need to worry about the world, but like, you know, we need to zoom out a little and like get rid of the mirror and like focus on other things.
What's the story of, is it a narcissist?
Narcissist, yeah.
Who basically
He looked at his reflection and
he would stare at his reflection every day. Then didn't he end up drowning in the water?
yeah, he stared at his reflection in the water and he drowned. Sometimes that's me though. Like, I, thankfully, not as much anymore, but I used to spend a lot of time staring at myself. Taking selfies, looking in the mirror. I was very self-absorbed at a part of my life.
Hold on, I'm reading this story.
Reading the myth, the whole
Myth.
Greek mythology, right?
It is, yes. So it's saying that his rejection of the love of the nymph Echo, or in an earlier version of the young man Amenius, drew upon him the vengeance of the gods. He fell in love with his own reflection in the waters of a spring and pined away or killed himself. Hold on, let me read a different description. This one's not helping. Here. Narcissus rejected the advances of all women and men who approached him, instead falling in love with his own reflection in a pool of water. In some versions, he beat his breast purple in agony at being kept apart from this reflected love, and according to Ovid, turned into a flower bearing his name.
Oh.
Oh, it's a daffodil. Are you saying we're all becoming narcissists?
Well, my point was, the human species has an obsession with vanity. And specifically in the United States, we've built our culture around vanity, specifically Hollywood, and our idolization and our obsession with these beautiful actors and actresses and singers, all these beautiful artists who may or may not have a talent, and there's something within the ego that forces us to gravitate to beauty, right? We would have to ascend, I think, as a whole. Like, our species would have to ascend past our ego in order to really put beauty standards aside.
Of course. To stray a little away from the Netflix series, I wanted to talk about, because we're talking about idolization, right? When are we going to move away from that? Because yes, the US is what made it popular, but there are celebrities who go outside of the US and people are still also fawning over them and running after them. And it's like, when are we going to get past that idolization? I definitely like pop culture. If you guys can tell, we love pop culture, celebrity culture. I watch interviews. And I want to move away from, I think art should always be there, and we should appreciate good artists and share art. And, you know, I don't think art's ever going to go away, and it shouldn't go away, and artists should never go away. But the fact that they can't even leave their house without being attacked, like people like swarming around them, like that's why I say I never want to be famous, because I don't want to be able to not be able to go out to eat to a restaurant, and then paparazzi on top of that. The fact that paparazzi is even legal and we just allow this to happen, and then we've now forced this rhetoric of like, well, you signed up for that, well, that's what you wanted, well, there you go. And I think certainly there are certain celebrities like the Kardashians who want that, who love that, but I don't think every person that becomes famous wants that. Like, again, we're making these YouTube videos and I don't have any desire for fame. And some people might not understand that because they're like, well, then why are you putting yourself out there? It's like, and then if there were other talents that I were to put forward and that I want to share, that doesn't mean I want to be hounded every time I leave the house. Like, I know Chappel Roan is someone that people get annoyed with because she speaks up and puts her boundaries out there. But it's like, not everyone that is putting, you know, music out or movies out wants to be swarmed by paparazzi and constantly having people come up to them and be like, take a picture of me, say hi to me, give me your autograph. Like, I don't think that that should be a part of celebrity. Like, it's like, you have to do these things.
Okay, to counteract that argument, what do you think about the perspective that the people, right, the only reason that this person is making millions and millions of dollars is because of the people's interest in them?
It's the interest in their talent, though. If I'm selling music and you're listening to my music, then don't give me your money, right? If this is not the exchange I'm putting forward. Like, I'm making YouTube videos. I don't owe any single person watching this. This is my opinion. I don't think I owe anyone watching this a picture, an autograph. I don't owe you my energy and time because you watched a video. Like, I'm not agreeing to that contract. I'm not agreeing to that energy exchange. If we do become more popular and like some level of fame, I don't think I owe, if I'm just walking down the street to get coffee, I don't think I owe people stopping and taking pictures with them if I don't want to do that. Like, I'm still a human being and I still have my bodily autonomy and my own rights. And it's like, I appreciate people supporting me, but I don't think I should have to, I'm not agreeing to the exchange of like, just take my picture of me out to eat, or like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why can't I just live my life and you appreciate what I am giving to you? We've already had the exchange. You paid for my music and you got my music. You pay, you know, you're watching my YouTube video, you got the YouTube video. That was it. I don't owe that. That's my thought process on that. I don't owe you more than that. And it's like, I can be appreciative of the people who helped me get there. But then at the same time, it's like, it's too much. Like, you see a celebrity go out to eat and everyone's just like phones out, recording them, swarming them. Like, that's weird to me. Why can't that person, if you love them so much and you love what you've given, you know, like what you've done for them, then like, let them live their life. And then if you feel like, I don't know, I don't understand that thought process of like, you owe me more.
I don't look at it as like, oh, the people are like, you owe me more. I look at it as like they're they look up to this person became a role model to them, right? And if a celebrity, I know it's difficult, right? But if a celebrity doesn't want to be seen, there's plenty of ways for them not to be seen. You know, do you get what I'm saying? Like, sure.
But then that's another point I don't like either, where it's like, well, just hide away. And it's like, but if I want to go to this restaurant and eat my fucking dinner, then let me go and eat my dinner. Like, why do I have to hide away?
No, I'm not saying that they have to hide away. Okay, I agree in a certain extent, but I also see it as like, if you want to be a celebrity, then this comes with the territory. That's my take on it.
Right, and I'm just saying I don't agree with that, and I feel like Chappell Roan is trying to help change that movement, and I agree with trying to change that, where we're like, let's stop idolizing celebrities, and if we're gonna stop idolizing celebrities, then we're just gonna let them, like, think about, like, we're from New York. We always say New Yorkers don't care. You could be walking past celebrities, and like, that's why a lot of them like being in New York, because they're like, whatever, no one really, it's so overpopulated, no one really even notices I'm there, and it's nice to just, you know, be a normal person.
I don't know. I feel conflicted because if someone like Chappell Roan is going to Paris Fashion Week and she's walking down the street all glammed up and then she's wondering why people want to take a photo with her, she didn't have to go to that event. Like, they want a certain lifestyle, but then get mad if their lifestyle is being interrupted by the people who are making them money.
Well, because I think you still have to have boundaries. Just because you're not physically writing my paycheck, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I go to work and my boss is being like up my ass, they're not gonna be like, well, I'm giving you your money. I'm gonna be like, excuse me, back up, give me my space. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I think humans should still be able to have their boundaries. If they can never just have any moment of peace, and we're just like, well, too bad. And I feel like that's so fucked up. Like, we should be moving it the opposite direction of like, okay, let's let people live their life. Like, what more do you want from them? Again, like, if they already gave you the music and the art, why do they need to give you more because you consume, like, again, you're like, oh, I helped you become famous, and you're like, well, you liked my music and I gave you the music.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, don't you think that Chappell Roan, for example, if she really wanted to just put out music, she could put out music, but no, she's going to the Grammys and she's participating in the Hollywood lifestyle. No, listen, I agree. Have your boundaries. I do think that I don't agree with paparazzis in general. I also don't agree with resellers. Those are usually the ones that are bombarding these celebrities it's usually the resellers who are bombarding the celebrities to get their signature so that they can go and sell that photo for thousands of dollars. I don't know. I'm conflicted, right? I kind of see both sides where, okay, does Chappell Roan just want to make music? Sure, but did she want to also become a famous celebrity in Hollywood? It seems like it, right?
Right. And I think, but again, I think she's also wants to change the narrative a bit. And like, who knows? Maybe she signed a contract where it's like, all right, you now have to go to all these events. But again, I feel like, why can't they? Why? I don't think people should, like. Again, like, people will put a story out like, oh, this person was rude to me because I asked her a picture and they said no. And it's like, I don't think the celebrities owe you that. I don't personally think that. I think they don't owe you. I just don't think they owe people anything. And to be like, well, I gave you money. And it's like, okay, so then stop.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't know. You and I both have different takes on this because I do think that this is part of their job now. So unfortunately, you're not going to like everything about your job, right?
Right, but again, I understand right now that's a part of their job, but I just think it needs to die down. I think it has died down because I'll see comments too about Chappell Roan specifically. They're like, oh, she would have never survived early 2000s paparazzi. And it's like, well, look what it did to Britney Spears. We were all upset that they did that to her. And even now Justin Bieber, where he's like trying to talk to them human to human of like, please just like, Just let me have a moment. And then also and then it gets even weirder when it's like filming their children, or like, you know, like when can they put up the boundary? And you'll see other celebrities do it. Like I've seen even like Anne Hathaway be like, okay guys, let's, you know, like more and more they're starting to be like, can we like, if you're on the red carpet, yeah, flash, take pictures. But if you're just walking down the street to the event, you know what I'm saying? Like where are we going to draw the boundaries?
Yeah. Listen, I have two thoughts.
Okay.
Is there a level of vanity within these celebrities that there's a part of them that wants this attention, but then when it escalates to the point where it becomes overwhelming, right?
Right.
They want their perfect idea of what it means to be a celebrity. Like, yeah, I want the fame and the millions. But the minute I don't know, it's hard. It's like, yeah, you want the attention because you're a famous celebrity. Most people who don't like attention aren't going to be famous. So it's tricky, right? It's like, okay, but you wanted this lifestyle. And now when it becomes overbearing, you're trying to cherry pick like certain attributes of being famous.
But are they cherry picking, or are they trying to, like I said, reestablish what it means? Because I also think, like, again, for us, where I've mentioned in past videos, like, oh, we're going to be on SNL, or like, we're going to go to a movie premiere. And it's like, yeah, that stuff sounds fun, but I'm saying right now, like, I never wanted to be famous, and I still don't have the want or need to be famous, because I don't want all of the things that do come with it. So it's like, well, if we got to a point where it's like, that doesn't have to happen, do you know what I'm saying? Like, some people do want it for that reason. Like, I do believe the Kardashians love the attention and the fame, but yeah, they're also at a level of, they're billionaires, so they can hide away. And I don't think every celebrity is making as much money as you think they're making. And I think just because you see someone everywhere doesn't mean they have a lot of money or still have what you know what I'm saying? Like, they might, like, you learn all the time that people sign contracts that were messed up and they didn't get any money from it. Or you see celebrities that become D-listers and they're like, well, what happened to them? And it's like, they didn't make the right money moves, or like they lost all their money to management, or whatever the case is. Like, not all people that become famous are at that level of financial privilege where they can just hide away and like take, you know, have people do everything for them, because that's what it comes to also, where like you can't even leave your house, so you're just having people go out and get things done for you.
I definitely agree with a lot of what you're saying, which I also wanted to bring up this point. Like, what is it about humans, right, who become fans of someone and then they become obsessed? I'm not sure what the psychology behind that is.
Right. I would love to know that too. Also, I just want to apologize, guys. Like, right now they decided to do construction at 7:30 at night, so I just want to apologize for my audio at this point. But we are going to wrap it up soon. I'd like to know that too, because again, like, I don't think I would ever act that way if I met a celebrity. We've seen videos before of like, there's one of like Billie Eilish walking out of her concert and someone grabs her. There's that guy that ran onto the red carpet and tried to hug Ariana Grande. And there are people out there that will justify, well, this is what you signed up for. And that's where I think the lines get blurred and it gets weird and scary, where it's like, don't touch people. No, I don't care if they're a celebrity. Don't touch somebody.
No, of course.
I think that's why we need to establish certain rules, because it's like, I don't want someone that close in my personal space.
No, listen, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. I also am playing devil's advocate. And then we also have the latest news. I don't know if you heard about this, but there was a woman who shot up Rihanna's house.
Yes, that I've seen a few videos of that woman speaking. Yeah, like what, and obviously in that case, it's definitely some sort of mental illness. But I do think, again, like this idolization of a celebrity, or this feeling like they're not real people, or feeling like we have access to them, is where it starts to get dangerous. And there have been stories of fans killing celebrities in the past also, or harming them. So it's like, that's why we need to start somewhere, right? To prevent things like that from happening.
No, I agree. And you know, I know I've seen comments about Chappell Roan, for example, and her behavior, and some people agree with her and some people don't. And maybe she is starting to create that chain reaction where we'll start to see a separation, right? We don't need to be so attached to these celebrities, and maybe we should just appreciate their talent and their art and leave it at that. I don't know. We both agree that we think like Hollywood should die in general. Not in general, because like obviously we love entertainment. We love music. We love entertainment. That's always been part of the human experience. I think it just escalated now to the point where we are so involved in a celebrity's life, right? Because if you look back in like the 1950s in old Hollywood, there was more mystique behind these actors and these singers. But now, where I even think, you know, the internet in general, we reveal too much information.
And that's the thing, we think we have the right to know these things, and we have the right to access people's lives. And that's where I don't agree, where it's like, well, I made you famous, so I need to know everything about you. And it's like, no, we already had our transaction. I gave you music, you gave me money. If you're not happy with that transaction, get a refund. I don't know how to tell you. Like, I don't need to now, you don't need to know every step I'm taking, and every, you know, you don't need to follow every little thing and know where I live. And now there's a tour guide going through my neighborhood of like, and here's where this person, like, no, why are we doing that? Can I just live my life? Why? Oh, this person dyed their hair. This person cut their hair. This person bought a new pair of jeans. It's like, who gives a fuck? Why are we, that's too much. Sometimes I feel weird where there's like paparazzi got this person, and I'm like, do you remember, we used to read a lot of magazines growing up, okay? We always, in our house, would have like People magazine, US Weekly, whatever they were called, right? And there was a section in the magazine, celebrities, they're just like us. And it's literally like them going to the grocery store, and it's like, yeah, it's a human being. They kind of also have to function within the same way. And there was even Cardi B. She had that whole lawsuit because a woman was filming her at the doctor's. And they were like, oh, now she attacked me. She's at the doctor's pregnant, and you're over here like, let me film. Like, no, like, we need to, that's what I'm saying. We need to respect people's space and their boundaries. Like, we do not need to film someone in the bathroom at the doctor's, film their children, and now be like, well, now your children are attached to that.
Right. Well, we know these people are trying to sell these videos and these photos of these celebrities.
And it's weird. It's like, we need to stop caring so much.
We went in a totally different direction.
We did, and I was gonna say, to bring it back to America's Next Top Model, I do feel like, again, the same thing can be said to these women who are like, well, you signed up to be in a reality show. Well, this is what you signed up for. And again, I think there's just, everyone has a different idea of what they think they're getting themselves into. And to be like, well, you signed up to be on this show, so they can do whatever they want to your image now.
to bring it back to the documentary, we learn at the end that Tyra Banks wants to have a cycle 25.
No.
So, out of all the commentary online, you know what she took from it? We need to do it again.
We don't need to bring it back. We don't. Girl, stick to your ice cream.
Your hot ice cream that nobody asked for and is only sold in Australia.
So there is a video I wanted to show that talked about eating disorders and how skinny has, well, it's not even skinny, it's like unnaturally skinny, like has come back into being a trend. So this video is from Jameela Jamal. We've shown a clip of her before in one of our previous videos, and I've mentioned this. I just love a lot of her takes. And in this video, she is talking about everything that we are talking about. So I'm just gonna play it, and it's gonna, sorry guys, we're getting towards the end of filming, and usually towards the end of filming, our brains start to turn off.
I'm someone who is critical of the glamorization and normalization of eating disorder culture in the entertainment industry. And sometimes when I talk about it, some people push back. Not many, thank God, but some people do, going, you shouldn't be commenting on women's bodies. And while I do appreciate that, I think that that is a disingenuous way to shut down a pivotal conversation about the fact that anorexia is the leading cause of death of any mental illness. This is really serious. This is life or death we are talking about. Less than 30% of people ever recover from anorexia once it takes hold of them. And then we are seeing it glamorized en masse across the industry, which bleeds into cultures, it bleeds into society, it bleeds into schools. We can see that this is not just a health kick that Hollywood has undergone, okay? Because when that happens, you can see a bit of visible muscle, you can see more skin vitality, people look healthier, they don't look gaunt, they don't have hair loss, they don't lose their skin vitality, they don't have visible muscle loss, they're not shaking on the red carpet, they're not hunched over, they're not hobbling where they used to stride. This is very visibly a frailty and fragility beauty standard that has taken hold of our society. And it has to be called out because it cannot be a homogenized beauty standard for all women and all girls of all different genetics and ethnicities and ages and heights. We're not supposed to all look exactly the same. This is a homogenized beauty standard set by pedophiles that we now know are the decision makers of our entire industry and culture at large. It goes along with the hairlessness and the youthfulness and the facelifts and everything. We're all supposed to look 19 forever. And it is incredibly distressing. And I do understand why you feel uncomfortable that anyone would not feel great about whatever body they have. We're not trying to shame or hurt anyone, but unfortunately it takes calling out to bring awareness to something. How do you think the body positivity movement came in? It was because it wasn't a coincidence where we all woke up and just decided to suddenly eat and be free. It was women like me, including literally me, saying, looking at Hollywood, pointing it out, sometimes even pointing out the most extreme individuals and going, this is a visible mental health disorder and we should not be glamorizing it. We said enough is enough and we fought the system. And now we need to come back and do that again. Otherwise, we're going to have another super size zero trend take hold for another 10 years and fuck up another 3 generations of women like the last one did. So I appreciate not wanting anyone to feel bad about themselves. I'm living in a slim body. I'm not body shaming myself. I'm not body shaming anyone else who's naturally, doing whatever they're doing or healthily doing whatever they're doing to be whatever size they want. I'm talking about a visible mass eating disorder culture taking over the entertainment industry that is endangering every single woman and girl, especially, who is witnessing it and thinking that that is the key to love and attention and acceptance. We have to do better than this. We know too much now. We know too much about the organ damage and bone density damage that comes along with these things. It's not worth it. I did it. It wasn't worth it. It's been 10 years since I've recovered and I'm still dealing, and I will forever be dealing with the damage I did to my body and my wonderful vital youth that I would do anything to get back. So I'm going to keep shouting about this is to stop you from making the mistakes that I made, because I did it. And I was in this industry that pushed me to do it and perpetuated my continuation of this awful, hideous disorder. Love you loads. I'm sorry if I've pissed you off, but I'm tripling down on my decision to do this in this way so that we stop the rot and stop the madness.
She summed all of that up perfectly, and I just want to also read the description she put. She said, "Are we waiting for one of these women to die before we are allowed to talk about this? Now is not the time to be distracted with unattainable beauty standards. Our rights are on the line. That's why they want us too weak to fight. They want us to be innocent little frail girls forever. Nah, I'm done with this Emperor's New Clothes gaslighting as if this nightmare phenomenon is just fine. We deserve better than the malnourishment Olympics." And I mentioned earlier that I'm someone who also struggled with anorexia. And again, no one ever came up to me to tell me, like, sit me down and be like, you know, we care about you, we want you to feel better, because it was so normalized that this is just what skinny is. And she's saying in the video too, like, we should have progressed past this. And that's something we're also seeing in the America's Next Top Model documentary, where that was being forced onto us to be skinny, and them fat shaming a lot of the women who are already tiny and telling them the certain weight they need to be. And we talked about this before too, how there was a small movement of being plus size and embracing your body and body positivity. And I feel like that's all just going down the drain.
Right. And I was just thinking about Tyra announcing a potential new cycle, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're realizing the trends and wanting to capitalize off of that with a new cycle.
Right, and I think there are still people who would argue, oh, well, models need to be skinny. And it's like, no, we need to stop forcing women to have any type of beauty standard or body standard. And as she said in this video, it's like, we all come from different backgrounds, heights, cultures, and like, your weight is just going to be different depending on so many different factors.
Absolutely. And I personally don't see a new cycle of America's Next Top Model shedding the controversy. I think we'll still see the racism, we'll still see the body shaming, we'll still see the abuse. This is just another cash grab for them.
Right. We don't need that. We don't need another America's Next Top Model unless you really are going to push boundaries, unless you are actually going to do all the things you said you were going to do, instead of just resorting back to, like you said, the racism, the body shaming. Like, no, unless you're actually going to push boundaries and break glass ceilings, then fuck that. And again, that's why I did bring up like the Chappel Roan and everything of it all, because I think we do need more women who are speaking up and not afraid to be like, this is my boundary, this is what I'm setting. And also having more celebrities speak up about other celebrities, because we keep trying to protect and what's the word, like infantilize, that's the word, okay. And we're like infantilizing celebrities where these are all grown women, and it's like, we just need more like a safe space where women can come together and openly talk about these things, and know that you don't have to force yourself to look this way. And it just hurts to see these celebrities who are getting very frail, and it's like far past skinny, and people are like, well, you don't know what they're struggling with. And it's like, absolutely. And if they are struggling with things, they can talk about it if they want or if they don't want to. But again, like you're saying, they're showing up to these events, they know they're being photographed. I don't know, there's so much that goes into it, where again, like maybe again taking away the idolization.
It's difficult. I'm sure anybody who is currently dealing with an eating disorder feels shame and embarrassed and scared. It's not it's not going to be easy, right? To even acknowledge it for yourself of like, hey, I have a problem.
It took me years to acknowledge, and again, there was a lot of body dysmorphia involved in it. So when I looked in the mirror, I didn't see what other people saw, and it took a long time to really see myself as I am. And that's something we've talked about before, where we'll look back at pictures and then we're like, oh shit.
Yeah. You know what's wild? I've seen many comments saying that they're excited, that people are excited for a new season of America's Next Top Model.
Of course, and then that's the thing too. There's always going to be the people that are pushing this and promoting the celebrity culture and wanting the drama and wanting that, like, you know, there are people who feed off of that stuff, and there are going to be people who watch it, and that's what we've talked about before in the past too, of people who got canceled or people who really don't deserve the level of fame that they're at. But unfortunately, there's always two sides of the coin. There's going to be people that are going to be there for it. And I do want to say, we do acknowledge that Tyra has gone through a lot as a woman of color. Like, she's definitely broken a lot of barriers and has done a lot for modeling. But then again, it's a double-edged sword of like, she's done a lot, but then she's done a lot in both aspects, where she's done a lot of good, but she's also done a lot of bad. Because again, she was shaming people on this show, but then when she was on her talk show, there was that big iconic moment of her being like, kiss my fat ass, and like, right, like, I feel like she's gone back and forth over the years of what side of the coin she is on. Because I thought there was a time period in my life where I thought she was someone who was enforcing body positivity.
No, same. There was a point where I loved Tyra Banks, and I would watch her talk show, and I thought she was a good role model. But like you were saying, we were young during, you know, we were young when we grew up with her. So, of course, our full understanding didn't develop until we were old enough to fully perceive the situation.
Right. And I think she's just a product of her environment of being in the modeling industry. She obviously didn't invent the standard. She didn't invent modeling. Like, this is not all up to her control, but she is now in a position of power where, again, she has the capability to change a lot of this stuff.
I'm curious to see what they would end up doing with a Cycle 25, but I also don't want to give in and watch and give them, be an audience and give them the attention if they're going to resort back to their toxic ways. Are we going to see a show where we're actually seeing the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a model, and you're actually developing these women's careers so that they can receive opportunities after the show? Or are you just going to revert back to exploiting women and creating a show that is shock value and only shock value?
Yeah. And I think that's why people will tune in, because they're curious to see what it will be. But I think it would be one of those things where if it doesn't change, then the viewership will just slowly decline.
And from what I'm understanding, I don't know if it's for sure going to happen. I don't know if it's actually been greenlit. So I maybe they were trying to test the waters by announcing that there is a Cycle 25. I'm not sure. But from what we see, Tyra and Ken didn't take accountability in this documentary, which is unfortunate. So it's difficult to even put faith in those two creating the show again.
Yeah. Let us know if you guys are interested in seeing a new season of America's Next Top Model, and if you watched the documentary, what you thought about it.
Yes. Comment below your thoughts. Get your copy of The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood and read along with us, because we are going to have our book review in the next coming weeks. Should we tell them what our next episode is going to be about?
Oh, yes. We have another documentary on Netflix that me and Danny are going to be watching that just came out, I think, like a few days ago, called the... Wait, let me make sure I get the name of everything correctly. It's Louis Theroux's Inside the Manosphere. And you may or may not know how Danny and I feel about the patriarchy. But it will be very clear in that video. And you should also go back 2 episodes ago to watch our video all about being women and womanhood and femininity. But yeah, check out that series. No, it's not a series. Check out that documentary so you guys can be prepared for our next video. We haven't watched it yet.
We watched the trailer and we're intrigued.
I'm already annoyed, but I'm happy someone's going out there and doing the work, because Danny and I often joke that we are going to be writing a thesis paper, a research paper on men. And I am actively doing the research by working in a male-dominated fields.
Of course, this documentary has to be led by a man, because we know if it was a woman, if that woman was interviewing any of these toxic male podcasters, they would, you know what, it would actually be, the proof would be in the pudding. You know what I'm saying? Like, we would see how they actively speak to that woman who was interviewing them.
And I've seen clips of these type of podcasts where they do bring women on, and it raises my blood pressure. I think we need to stop giving them attention, but I also do like that this is more of a documentary style of, like, these men are so far in their ego. Again, talking about ego and narcissists, they're so far in themselves that they don't even realize how they're going to be perceived to other people. But stay tuned for that. Like, subscribe, comment. We never say those things. We rarely ever say those things, once in a while. Join us. Join the sisterhood, the Sheehan sisterhood, the coven. We're here to dismantle the patriarchy, dismantle beauty standards.
We're here to encourage reading. We're bringing reading back, okay? Literature and literacy is back on the rise, people.
Right. We like to say PBS is gone, but DMS is here, and, you know, reading rainbow, that's us.
Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
Bye.